the Gana part of it, only singing the glory of God, singing the glory of God. So he goes into the what do you call people sing in the streets. I forgot the name of it. Anyway, he used to go on the streets and sing bhajans, and people used to come join him, and it made very popular. And one day, Lord Krishna himself came. So he came in the form of a Brahmin, and he was singing the same kinds of songs. And he was in the center of the group. He was singing so beautifully, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recognized him. So by the time the song was over, he looked for him, he disappeared. So those are kinds of stories. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, and he traveled all over the country. Uh, Actually, they say he was the one who discovered Leela Shuka's a Krishna Karnamritam, because people were singing when he traveled in Kerala, or Kannada, I'm sorry, Kannada Desha. People were singing the Sanskrita slokas from Krishna Karnamritam. So he said, these are very beautiful. Now, where can I find them? So he came back and traced it and found the original text of it. So he fell in love with it. They also say that he loved Pratana Mahabhagavatam more than any Vyasa Bhagavatam. Then we have this Vallabhachari, who was also very popular. Then we have this Prabhupada, who made it internationally popular. But there is one Narayana Tirtha, who was the first one to propagate that. And he went back to Mathura and he built those temples that were desecrated by the foreign rulers. He was the first one. And they say that he was the one who started this Vanayatra in Vrindavan. Those people who've gone to Vrindavan, there are 12 kshetras there. And if you do parikraman of all the 12 kshetras, it's something like 168 miles. He is the one who started that. He is the one who recreated the Vrindavan kshetram. He recreated the disciples. Apparently, I was reading, I don't want to dwell on it, but when I was reading that stuff, it really, it broke my heart, and I almost felt like crying. They were saying all kinds of things about our, the people who invaded India at that time. They were making, these are the statues or things the people believed in. They were made with their blood and heart kind of thing. And of course, the invaders didn't care. They made them into pieces, and they were given as weighing stones in Muslim markets. Krishna's image was broken down into small pieces, and they were given to Muslim sellers as weighing stones. So that's how they mistreated the whole thing. And Narayana Tirthalu, he's from Godavari district. He was somehow he got this calling. He said, "I'm not staying here." So he traveled 800 miles and went to Delhi, Mathura, and started rebuilding all these temples. And he stayed there. And he's the one who he invented that parikramanam. And like I was saying, the 12 major centers in Vrindavan, and if travel all of them according to the plan, it takes about 168 miles. That's what it says here. Of course, he wrote Samskrita, in praise of Lord Krishna. They're very popular. These are made, performed in Andhra Pradesh in the form of Kuchipudi. So if anybody talks on Kuchipudi, we can ask them about. I have the book. I can read them, but we can. I can understand it. But he's the one who the first one to start this. Then the other most popular is in the form of anything that left behind, like a book, is Lila Shuka. Lila Shuka, there is a story behind that. A lot of people probably know it, at least Telugu people know it. He was a scholar, he came from a good family and all those kinds of things. But he fell in love with a Vaishya. And her name was Chintamani. So, the story goes that he was in such love with that lady that he could not even send one single day without seeing her. So as usual, he goes one day, and then she says, "I cannot see you today because today is my father's anniversary. Today I can't touch you. I have to have certain kind of celebrate attitude towards that." But he won't listen. She gets mad, and then the story behind that was that on that day when she said don't come, he could not bear the thought. So it was raining, the river was flooding, and then he had to cross it. He was drowning, and he found in some kind of a support. And with that support, he ran to he swam to the other bank, and then found that the support was nothing but a floating dead corpse. Then he goes on, and he is trying to reach the house by jumping the wall, the compound wall. He can't reach the compound wall, so he finds a thread, a rope. He goes over, and next realizes it's not a rope; it was a snake because he had blood on his hands. All these things, she sees all these kinds of things and says, "I told you not to come, but you have this persistence. You have this, uh, the intense desire to see me. If only you have that kind of desire to see the Bhagavan, you will find it. You'll find him." Apparently that was it. And he became a sannyasi, and he changed his name from Bilva Mangal, that was his given name, to, he was called Leela Shuka because he was just as good as Shuka. And he wrote about Krishna Leelas, so he's called Leela Shuka. And of course, Leela Shuka's Krishna Karnamritam is very popular. I'll read a story about him when I come to that. The other person I want to talk about is, before I come to Leela Shuka, is Bhaktivedanta A.C. Bhagavad. Now, he is the one who made this Krishna Bhakti internationally popular. Apparently, there are 50 plus centers in the United States now, and more than 150 centers all over the world. He was a married man, he was from Bengal, and he had a job for a while, but all of a sudden, one day, somebody called him and said, that's it. He left everything, went to Vrindavan, and he settled down there. And later on, he had another call, just like Vivekananda had. That's what they say. He came to the States, and then he started these ashrams. And it became immensely popular, especially in the United States and all over Europe too. And he also influenced some of these Beatles. So they made the Krishna consciousness very popular. We don't see them that often anymore, because when I first came to this country in the 70s, we used to see them all over at the railway stations, airports, and they used to wear these awkward robes, and they used to sell sandalwood sticks kind of thing. And they were shaven heads, men are shaven heads. The women were wearing this, tilakam. And, I went to one temple one time in Detroit, and one of my friends and I went with our families, and Lakshmi made some vada as a prasadam. They immediately rejected it. I said, I don't know. They probably know my inner story. Why did they reject this? Because, she made with all good heart. They said it has onions in it. We wouldn't accept it. You can distribute among the disciples, the devotees, but we cannot offer it to God. That's how strict they were. And looking at them in their, of course, they were all wearing these white saris and all those kinds of things, and they're all Europeans and Caucasians with flowers in their braids and tilak on their face. They really look, maybe the apsaras look like this. That's what I thought when I first came here. But he made it very popular. Now we don't see them that often. There is one in West Virginia, a golden temple. I had the fortune of visiting that and showing it to my mother too. And that was very, very good. But I don't know what happened to them, but they are not wearing those ropes anymore. They are not found in public places. One way it was good because they deeply, in love with that concept. At the same time, they were, laughing stock among some of the people. So people used to make fun of them. After that, I'm coming back to Krishna Karnamritam. And just before that, I will tell you the Krishna's personality and the activities for about 125 years when he was alive. Then what happened was he made his own grandson the king of Indraprastha. See, Kururajyam was taken by Dharmaraja. And of course, his disciple Parikshit became the king of Hastinapur. And Krishna's grandson, Samba's son, became the ruler of Indraprastha. So between those two families, they ruled the whole of that part of India. Now, his name was Vajranath. Krishna's grandson's name was Vajranath. And he, after the disastrous events of Mahabharata, about 3100 BC, and of course, then everybody died. Then the everything came at once, hit India at that time. The Jains and Buddhas, they didn't believe in all these kinds of things, so they neglected all these temples, all the kshetras. I don't have anything against them, but they did not care about these kinds of things. So they were neglected, so they became disastrously horrible. And of course, then the Muslims came and they destroyed the whole thing. So we talked about Narayan, right? And so Narayan Bhatt also established the village of Unchagaon, that means higher village, Unchagaon, where his descendant still live today. In Narayan Tirtha's children still live there in that area, Unchagaon. He was a great thinker and writer who composed several books that deal with almost all aspects of the Vrajabhumi. His final words echo his vision and highest degree of devotion and dedication to the Vrindavan. He said, devotion to Vrindavan should be performed. The land of Vraja is the worthy of worship. This very Vraja is the highest place. Vrindavan is the body of Sri Krishna. Krishna, the son of Nanda, never leaves Vrindavan. And we talked about some people last time that, even today, there was an American author who wrote on these issues. He wanted to test this out. Of course, Indians all make up all these kinds of stories because, there are stories like, even today, for discerning people, if you go to Vrindavan, you can still hear the Rasa Leela going on. You can still hear the Venu music. You can still hear the dancing, the nupurs, all those kinds of things. So he wanted to test for himself. He went to Vrindavan, he stayed there, and he wrote that he indeed heard them. So it's not a biased opinion, so we can believe that guy. Now, I'm going to give a small introduction to I'm going to talk about Leela Shukla for probably a couple of next sessions, if you don't mind, because there are so many good things that I can tell, I can share with other people. Now, Kasturi Tilakam Lalata Falake Pakshastale Kaustupam Nasagre Lavamaptikam Kalatale Venum Kare Kankanam Sarvange Harichandanam Chakalayam Kantesha Muktavalim Gopastri Pariveshtito Vijayate Gopala Chudamani is written by Leela Shukla. I'm going to give some introduction of this man. I told you the story. I don't want to repeat that story, but there are some interesting aspects of it. The very first, the name of that prostitute, I shouldn't say prostitute, she was a Vaishya. I hope everybody understands what a Vaishya is. So, the Vaishya not only told him that, you should be spending all this intense, caring and love towards God rather than me. He also gave the name of a guru to whom he should go. And she was such a great person. And of course, he was also, his guru's name was Somagiri. Somagiri is guru's name. So in his very first slokam, so I told you how he was picked up by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he was not very popular in where he was born naturally, but his songs were his slokams were very popular in Canada at that time. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling, he heard them, and the reason they think he's in Andhra is because in his slokams the meter is Telugu meters with prasa yati prasa niyamas. That's why they think, most of them look like Shardula Vikritam, those kinds of things, all his slogans. So the first slogan he wrote was, Chintamanir Jaitu, Somarir Guru me, Siksha Guruscha Bhagavan, Sikipincha Maulihi, Yatpada Kalpataru, Pallava Sekhareshu, Leela Swayambara, Rasam Labate, Jaistrihi. Chintamani, the first thing he mentioned was Chintamani. Apparently, Chintamani is not only the name of the Vaishya, but a Chintamani also the yogi. A yogi also is called a Chintamani because Chinta means thinking. Chintamani, of course, is a Vaishya. And Chintamani, there's a mantra called Chintamani mantra. Apparently, that's also one of the greatest mantrams. So he used that word at very first slokam he wrote, Chintamani, to express his appreciation not only to that woman who changed his life, but also to invoke the yogis and the Chintamani mantra. His mother's name was apparently Neeli Devi, and father was Damodara, and apparently they were Brahmins, and he grew up in Krishna Tiram, that's what he said. I'm going to read a few more slokas here. There is a beautiful book in my possession. It's called Sri Krishna Karnamrutam, Sri Leela Shuka Virachitam by Dr. Chudamani. She not only gives the meaning, pratipadartham of all the slogans, she also gives a Telugu poem with pratipadartham, and she also quotes anybody else, like Hindi Surdas, or those people, anybody who has written on Krishna. It's a beautiful book, and because she's the one who mentioned this, that all the slogans they follow the Telugu meter. For example, I'll read the first slokam here. Barhottam sa vilasi kuntalharam madhuryam agnasanam pranmilan navayavvanam pravilasadvenu pranadamrutam apinastava kutmalabhiravito gopibhiraradhitam jyotischetasinashchakasti jagata mekabhiramadbhutam. When I'm reading this, I feel I'm reading a Sadhula Vikritam in Telugu. The meter is exactly like that. So the description is, he's describing about his mother. he's describing about his vision. He's saying, I see this vision, and on that vision there is a person there, and on his head there is a peacock feather. I cannot describe how beautiful is that face. It appears like as if he's just now leaving childhood. Let's see it. Just now he's leaving childhood. And his lips, they're already singing, but there is a venu on the lips. And all these people are surrounding him, and they're wrapped in attention, listening to his music, admiring his beauty. That is the very first slokam he wrote. Those people who can understand Hindi well, I'm just going to read a Hindi person who's exactly translated just like this. Moru Mokata, Maligana Abhushana, Kadikinkan Nakachand, Mane Adola Varadhimai Bimbita, Raka Udugan Brund, Devi Surupa, Sakala Gopi Janrahe, Nihari, Nihari. It's obviously local language. I can understand pure Hindu, but I can understand this. I'm going to give you a story about this one, because everybody knows probably. So this is the story that I read when I was about Vyasa and Jaimini. Of course, Jaimini is Vyasa's Shishya, and one day they had a discussion about one statement. Apparently, Balavan Indriya Gramo Vidvamsam api karshati. That's what Vyasa said. Apparently, it is in some Bharatam, I think. Balavan Indriya Gramo Vidvamsam api karshati. So, and Jaimini objected to that. That means, the meaning is, even though you're such a powerful man, even the most powerful man, unless he's very, very careful, he'll fall a victim to desires and indriyas. Of course, we have heard similar stories by Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and we discuss all of them in our meetings. And of course, in this story, the father told this to his son, and the son said, "No, you're wrong, Daddy, you're wrong. If you have Indriya Nigraha, nothing can alter my mind." So, okay, that's it. So the father said, "All right, I'm leaving the house in your charge because I have to go out of town." So he went out of town, and the child and the son was in church. His mother was in the house. So in the middle of the night, there was a knock on the door. And he opened the door. And some lady came, and he was followed by an old, old man. And he said, "This lady is lost, sir. Can she find some, can she rest here for tonight?" And that he couldn't see the lady's face because she was covered up. "Oh, yeah, sure. Because in those days, people were not turned away in those situations." So he said, "Okay, there is that, ghostam there. That means there, the outhouse like thing, some small hamlet, like a hut-like thing. She can sleep there. And there is a door, and she locked the door, and he went into his house, and she went and slept. After half an hour, he started wondering, what kind of woman is she? Is she young or old? Is she beautiful or not? What can? And he looked out, there's nothing. There were no lights, street lights. So he stated back and forth several times. So finally he said, "I can't stand it anymore." So he goes and opens the door and opens the cover. Lo and behold, he finds his own father there. And father says, "See what I told you. So the son agrees. And now he changes the slokam to Prabhu Duta Dinahi Dina Patavata Charita. Not he changes that to Vidvamsam Apikarshati. Vidvamsam Apakarshati. From original is Vidvamsam Apikarshati. Even Vidvamsas Apikarshati. Even Vidvamsas, even learned people will fall down if they, unless they control their indriyas. he changed that to Vidva Mapika, and the Vidvans are not tempted. Now, of course, he changed his tune back again and said, Father, you are right. So this is the story they said about that kind of thing. So Suradas is quoting Suradas here. Prabhudota Dena Hidena, Parvata Charita, Sunaiti Daina. The Bhagavan, it seems, asks, Suradas says, Bhagavan asks his own bhaktas. I gave you all those indriyas, man. I gave you all those indriyas. What are you doing with them? You are not turning them all towards me. You are turning all of them away from me. How can you reach me? That's what Surda said. People who understand Hindi from Hindi area can probably appreciate it. I'll read that again. Prabhu Duta Denahi, Dena Patavata Chelita, Sunai Ti Daina. So there are, these are gems like this in this book. And, I can go on. I'll tell you one more story before I stop for today. Sri Krishna was doing the Rasa Krida, and he was mesmerizing all these gopikas with that. They were all, wrapped in attention, and they forgot his word. But one gopika, she thought she wanted to go, but the parents somehow kept an eye on her. So they locked her up. They tied down in the house. She couldn't go at all. She wanted to go, but she couldn't go because the parents somehow they got hold of this news, and they prevented her even before she left. Anyway, she was tied down in the house, and she was constantly thinking of the Lord. Oh, I'm missing all these kinds of things. They're enjoying it. I'm missing, and all night long. She started, thinking about this in Sanskrit, chintana. She was chintana. She was thinking. And by the morning came, she died with Krishna's name on her lips. So that story is called Chintayanti story because she died with the Lord's name on her lips. Chintayanti, so that's the story of that Mukta who died, constantly repeating the name of Lord Krishna. Of course, in this you have lots of these, Rasa Krida, Nari, Naduma Mura, Angana, those kinds of things. And I can continue next time. Thank you for this opportunity. I really enjoy talking about this Krishna. This is my favorite Lord. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can we request Hanuman Chalisa from anyone?
If no one is ready, Jyoti said she can. Jyoti?
Yes. जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीसति हूँ लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन वरन विराज सुबेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराजे कांधे मूंज जनेऊ साजे शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया, सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा, विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा, भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे, रामचंद्र के काज समारे, लाए संजीवन लखन जियाए, श्री रघुवीर हरषि उर लाए, रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बढ़ाई, तुम मम प्रिय भरत ही सम भाई, सहस बदन तुम रोजस गावे, अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे, सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा, नारद सारद सहित अहिसा, यम कुबेर दिगपाल जहाते, कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते, तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीना, राम मिलाए राजपद दीना, तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना, युग सहस्र योजन पर भानु, लील्यो ताहि मधुर फल जानु, प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माहि, जलधि लांघि गए अचरज नाही, दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुमरे तेते, राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे, होत न आज्ञा बिन पैसारे, सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी सरना, तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना, आपन तेज समारो आपे, तीनों लोक हांकते कापे, भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे, नासै रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा, संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम बचन ध्यान जो लावे, सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा, और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे, चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा, है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा, साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे, अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता, असबर दीन जानकी माता, राम रसायन तुमरे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा, तुमरे भजन राम को भावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे, अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई, जहाँ जन्मे हरि भक्त कहाई, और देवता चित्त न धरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई, संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा, जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई, जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई, छूटहि बंधि महासुख होई, जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साकी गौरी सा, तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, की जय नाथ हृदय महडेरा, पवन तनया संकट हरन, मंगल मूर्ति रूप, राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुर भूप. Thank you.
Thank you, Amma. Do you mind closing with
Mangal Shlokas.
Shanti Mantra? Thank you.
ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय, ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः, लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु. ॐ.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Sir, thank you so much for presenting with such a passion. Really enjoyed it. Now we're open for comments, discussion, questions. We have good 6 minutes.
Guru Garu, question. This Krishna Karnamrutam, do you have a good a link for any particular singer and also a good website for the lyrics? I have one in Telugu, but for the benefit of everyone. And if you know if anyone has recited this.
I
Text.
don't think so. Not everybody recited all these slokas. Nobody, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
There are some, some YouTube, there's some CDs. Long time ago, I got some CDs by Chagante Kodesaro,
Okay.
but he did not do justice. He did not. He selected 10 or 15 slokas and finished. The rest is all gossip. So I didn't like that.
Okay. Yeah, if anyone knows, please let us know. Thank you.
Narsala.
Yeah, and then tomorrow we do not have the session here, but Dr. Biram will announce the temple program. Thank you.
Yes, tomorrow, I think it starts at 5 o'clock with Havan, Rudra Homam, and then the puja goes all through the night. And in the morning, 5 o'clock is the Mangala Harati, following, not tomorrow morning, the following morning. So everyone is welcome to attend. And as you all know, the Shivaratri is very special. And Sri Ramji and Srinidhi ji, they do it with such a passion. I cannot describe it. Only you have to see it. And Friday, we're back to our routine schedule with Sri Ram Sarvatam. Any other comments? We still have a couple of minutes.
Very good presentation, sir. Especially Sri Krishna Karnamrutam is a beautifully written book. And we also, as we also had the opportunity to discuss the Subhodayam as well as our mutual study when Tuesday and Thursdays. So it's really, really beautiful. Slokas are beautiful, the meanings are beautiful. That's worth reading, even though if you don't have the YouTube or something, just grab any books. Telugu, 2 or 3 authors wrote about it. And of course, there will be, I'm sure, in English also. Thanks for the good presentation.
Any other comments? We have 1 more minute.